Good afternoon. Be very welcome, all participants joining this online event today. We would like to announce the release of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative reports on the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, which are also available on the website. We are thankful for your interest and very pleased to count on your participation today. At the end of our session, today's speakers will be glad to reply to any questions that participants may write in the Q&A section. We hope this event runs as smoothly as planned, as we are connecting from different places in the world, and appreciate your understanding just in case we need to adapt or move forward due to any technical issues. To start our event today and to give you some context on it, Mediterranean and Black Seas are exceptionally rich in biodiversity and habitats for cetaceans. They comprise 11 and 3 resident species, respectively, not to mention many other species visiting the Mediterranean basin. ACCOBAMS was established in 1996 to improve the conservation of cetaceans. In order to achieve this goal, 3 things are essential though. First, to understand the abundance and distribution of cetaceans. Secondly, to assess the impact of the threats they face. And finally, to evaluate the effectiveness of efforts to protect them. This is the mission of ACCOBAMS countries for more than 20 years now. The survey initiative originated in the long-standing vision of its scientific committee supported by ACCOBAMS countries. The ASI, as we call it, was launched at the 6th meeting of the parties in 2016. The ASI initiative was firstly implemented in 2018 in the Mediterranean, thanks to the financial support of France, Italy, Monaco, and Spain, and also thanks to external donors like MAVA Foundation, Prince Albert II Foundation, and International Fund for Animal Welfare. A year later, the CeNoBS project was selected for EU funding, and a dedicated cooperation with Russian partners was also made possible due to the support of another EU project, M++. The CeNoBS project thus enabled the implementation of the ASI initiative in the Black Sea in 2019. So it was after intensive and collaborative preparations, also in coordination with many partners and riparian countries, the aerial and vessel-based surveys were conducted in the Mediterranean during summer 2018. The following year, complementary boat surveys were done in Syria and Egypt, and in the summer 2019, another aerial survey covered a large portion of Black Sea waters. Therefore, this unprecedented monitoring campaign enabled a remarkable collection of data on cetaceans, but also on marine megafauna, and to a certain extent on human impacts, such as floating marine litter in particular. It certainly marked a huge step in understanding cetacean distribution, density, and abundance across the geographical area of ACCOBAMS. It notably set the knowledge base for future trend evaluations on density and abundance, and provided a strong foundation for the assessment of these species in the long run. Actually, both reports contribute to the reassessment of IUCN Red List on the conservation status of cetacean species. The knowledge assembled enabled anthropogenic pressures like ship strikes, bycatch due to fishing activities, amongst many others, to be placed in a cetacean population context. These results are extremely relevant to improving spatial-based conservation measures, namely through the identification of cetacean critical habitats and important marine mammal areas. Finally, a word on the importance of the initiative as a milestone collaboration approach. It turned into reality an active involvement of experts, scientists, students, governments, administrations from all countries of the Mediterranean, of the Black Sea and beyond. Furthermore, the initiative facilitated training activities, improving capacity building throughout the entire region. Today's event is about celebrating this notable achievement regarding marine conservation efforts. That's why we are shedding the light on the outcomes of these collective efforts and releasing both reports. We are grateful to so many of you who are with us today and the way in which you contributed to this common challenge. I take the opportunity to warmly thank you, not just for your dedicated work, but also for the time, energy, and the enthusiasm put into it, and above all, for believing that we would succeed in gathering the results we are glad to present today. I would like to invite you to watch a short movie illustrating the huge work accomplished during the ASI aerial and vessel-based campaigns. So the time has now come to dive into the report, on which an overview will be provided by some of the authors who are with us today. So I'm very honored to introduce Simone Panigada, Oliver Boisseau, Charlotte Lambert, and Marianne Payou. We also welcome Lobna Benakla from the Special Protected Areas Regional Activity Center and Irina Makarenko from the Black Sea Commission, to whom we are thankful for their participation as sub-regional coordinating units and also for sharing their insights from a regional policy perspective. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Dr. Simone Panigada, the scientific coordinator of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative.
Thank you, Susanna. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to see so many of you with us today. Happy Earth Day to everyone. I'm going to present the report of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative, which you can download from the ACCOBAMS webpage. It's a fairly consistent piece of work. The first part covers the aerial component of the effort. The second part covers the boat-based survey, and this will pretty much follow the presentation of today. Please, Julie. These are the survey blocks we designed for the aerial component, which I am presenting right now. Every color pretty much represent a different plane and a different group of scientists. The idea was to warrant equal coverage probability of the study areas, but of course we had to face with biological parameters, administrative and geopolitical constraints, security issues, choice of platform, availability of airports, and the fuel for the airplane. So sometimes we had to adjust our study area. The shaded area in light blue are the ones that we were not able to cover with the plane because of political reason, such as permits were not released or the available airports were too far away from the study area. Please. The next one shows the total effort we were able to cover. In blue, you see the tracks we were able to cover, and in light gray, you see the ones that we did not cover. Distance sampling methodology, which is widely used to estimate density and abundance for several taxa, was used to collect data and to analyze the data. The principle is fairly simple. You estimate abundance on predefined transects, and these are the ones that you see in blue, and these have to be representative of the study area, and then you extrapolate statistically to the whole area. In total, 8 planes were used. More than 100 scientists involved and trained participated to the campaign. We covered almost 2 million square kilometers of waters, and we surveyed more than 55,000 kilometers, which is almost 1.5 times the length of the equator, just to give you a rough idea. The next slide presents the multi-species approach, which we adopted. While collecting data for the target species, which were cetaceans, we had the opportunity to gather robust information on other large vertebrates, such as marine birds, human pressure, maritime traffic, plastic debris, shark and rays, and we will see a little bit of this later on. In total, we had about 1,600 sightings of cetaceans, totaling more than 22,500 animals sighted by the plane, and about 1,200 sightings of other vertebrates, totaling about 11,500 animals in total. The analysis process was done in a participatory approach to warrant the participation of several scientists in this initiative. And this was achieved by organizing dedicated workshops where we had the chance to provide the data to the participants and to actually involve them in data analysis. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 situation have created a little bit of issues, as you well know and you're well aware. So one workshop was organized and the 2 more ones will be planned for 2022 in person, because we think it's very important to organize this in person. The report includes several details on the methodology and on the results, and you will have a little bit of a flavor during this presentation, and you will have the chance to go deeper into the results by reading the report itself. Thank you, Julie. Abundance estimates was calculated using 2 methodologies, design-based and model-based. In one case, the outcome is a number, and this is the estimated population in that specific season, in that specific area, and these are the numbers you see here. For example, we had about 1,500 sperm whale with a coefficient of variation of 51%, 26,700 rhesus dolphins, 6,000 long-fin pilot whales, 66,000 common dolphins, and about 3,700 of beaked whales. If we move to the next slide, Here we see density maps, and this map presents the predicted distribution of fin whales according to the habitat preferences of these species. The difference between the eastern and the western part of the Mediterranean are quite remarkable. And by looking at the red colors in the map, we can easily understand where fin whales tend to concentrate during the summer month. These indications are very important for conservation purposes, for example, and to mitigate human threats such as ship strikes, which are very relevant for these species in the ACCOBAMS area. Striped dolphins are the most common cetacean species observed in the Mediterranean Sea, and we estimated almost 500,000 individuals within the basin. And also for this species, we can see a marked preference for the western part compared to the eastern one. This is related to different oceanographic conditions and most likely reflects a higher concentration of food in the western part of the basin. Thank you, Julie. In this map, we see the distribution of bottlenose dolphins. This is a coastal species, and you can clearly see this by looking at the vast majority of sightings occurring on the continental shelf area. The species is widely distributed across the Mediterranean Sea, and we can see high concentration areas in the Strait of Sicily, in the Gulf of Lions, in the Adriatic Sea and the Aegean Sea, for example. Next one. Abundance estimates, as I mentioned during the multi-species approach, was estimated also for other taxa like sharks, marine birds, turtles, swordfish, tunas. And this map, for example, presents the distribution of spine-tail devil rays. This is the only large mobula species present in the Mediterranean Sea. And as you can see, the species is very abundant in the central part and in the western part of the Mediterranean, and it tends to be more abundant in the northern portion of the basin versus the southern one. The next one presents a distribution of loggerhead turtles. These are widely distributed throughout the Mediterranean, and their concentration tend to increase in a north to south gradient. For example, if we look at the areas north of Sicily and south of Sicily, we see very high concentration, and these are the places where interaction with human activities such as fishing activities reach highest levels. The last slide of my presentation presents swordfish. The ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative provided important information also on commercial species such as tunas, bluefin tunas, and swordfish. Here you can see the distribution of swordfish and the number of estimated individuals, which is about 21,000. And again, we can see that there is a difference between the western part and the eastern portion of the Mediterranean, with higher concentration in the west. I'm now giving the floor to Ollie to present the visual and the vessel-based component of the survey initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simone. As Susanna mentioned at the outset of the presentation, in addition to the aerial effort, surveys were conducted from 5 vessels, which involved the participation of over 100 local scientists, some of whom I'm pleased to see are watching this presentation now. These surveys use the same methodology as Simone laid out for the aerial surveys, and were particularly important for those areas where the airplanes couldn't fly, particularly in the eastern basin. One of the 5 survey vessels, the research vessel Song of the Whale, surveyed primarily the western basin, so we can see some of the track lines ranging from the Atlantic Ocean to the coastal waters of Italy. And in addition, we were surveying Libyan waters and the waters of the Hellenic Trench, which are known to provide important cetacean habitats. The other 4 vessels surveyed the waters of Egypt, Lebanon, and Syria, and these represent the first systematic surveys for cetaceans in these regions. In total, the vessels incorporated 17,000 kilometers of track line over 1.3 million square kilometers. And as we saw on the previous slide, there were 385 sightings made during those surveys of approximately 3,000 animals. And we've been making density estimates in the same way that Simone outlined for the aerial surveys, and they're presented in the final report. I'll quickly move on to the acoustic survey. So as I mentioned, research vessels along the Whale was towing hydrophone arrays capable of detecting all cetacean species, including the deep diving species, including sperm whale and the slightly more elusive beaked whales. These animals may spend up to 80% of their lives on deep dives and are essentially absent from the surface, so they're unavailable for observers to see them at the surface. So we use acoustic techniques to find them, and fortunately some of the species, such as the sperm whale is actually the loudest biological sound source on the planet, so it's quite easy for us to detect these, and they may be heard up to 20 kilometers away. And we have a short recording here of a typical sperm whale encounter. So just using sperm whales as a case study, we can plot the acoustic detections of the sperm whales. So the red and orange circles here represent individual sperm whale encounters. And we had approximately 250 sperm whales encountered acoustically. And this is in stark contrast to the 10 sightings we made during the survey. So I hope this brings home the point that it's quite hard to see these animals from a vessel, but much easier to record them. And using the statistical techniques Simone outlined earlier, we were able to generate an abundance estimate of 4,600 sperm whales. And most of these were in the Western Basin. As I mentioned, the Hellenic Trench does provide an important habitat for these animals as well. And so far we've shown you the marine life we encountered during the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative, but now we're going to hear from Charlotte from the University of La Rochelle, who will tell us a bit more about the unfortunate prevalence of marine litter evident throughout all of our surveys. Charlotte.
Thanks, Holly. So as you all know, one of the main threats for biodiversity in the Mediterranean is the bug litter, that is amplified with the spore turtle just before. And as such, the HASI provided the first comprehensive survey of floating litter in the basin. So during the higher survey, the observers cited more than 41,000 debris floating at the sea surface, among which most were identified as plastics. And those data permitted us to model for the first time at the basin scale and from visual data, the distribution of floating marine litter and its total abundance over the Mediterranean Sea. We found that the highest densities occurred in the central and western basins, as you can see in the map, and the lowest in the southwestern basin. And we were able to estimate that more than 2.9 million debris of a size larger than 30 centimeters were floating above the Mediterranean Sea during the summer 2008. So you will find in the report a summary of the method, but also the presence probability map, which is shown here, as well as the abundance map. And this work was a premiere for the Mediterranean region, but it will be highly interesting to complement it with litter data that has been collected in the Black Sea as well. So on that matter, I am going to hand over to Marianne, who will present the cetacean-related results of the survey in the Black Sea.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Charlotte. Indeed, we hope that till the end of this year, we'll be able to bring more information about the status of marine litter in the Black Sea. Now, in respect to the Black Sea component of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative, which was performed within the frame of two major projects co-financed by ACCOBAMS and the European Union, as Susanna was saying. CeNoBS project support marine strategy framework directive implementation in the Black Sea throughout establishing a regional monitoring system of cetacean and noise monitoring for achieving good environmental status. And M++ project improving environmental monitoring in the Black Sea, selected measures. I'll introduce the report that includes the analysis and results for the Black Sea dolphins and porpoises, and just underline the existence of marine litter, bird, and human activity data, which will be made available also later this year. The scientific coordination team, led by Dr. Simone Panigada, that you already met, proposed 7 blocks to be surveyed. The rationale for the block boundaries were the best compromise achieved between oceanographic zones, bathymetric characteristics, and regional legal constraints, which are delicate in the Black Sea region, as probably some of you know. The design of the blocks was constantly updated as the survey was approaching to take into consideration last-minute issues related to permits and other logistical constraints. The survey plan covered more than 60% of the Black Sea, assuring in the end the coverage of 5% of it. 3 teams with 13 scientists from the riparian countries on board of 3 aircrafts were following the predefined transects and collected data using the same line transect distance sampling methodology designed to ensure an equal coverage probability and representation of the study area. 1 exclusive Russian research team, you can check them in the picture down right, surveyed the Russian block, and 2 other teams, international this time, covered the other 6 blocks from the CeNoBS project, picture right up. The total effort on transect was of more than 9,000 kilometers and a lot of transit due to the lack of facilities for the aircraft within the Black Sea. We have a big lesson learned in this survey for the Black Sea area. Going further, the primary data collected were of cetacean species with more than 1,900 sightings and almost 4,800 animals. Besides this, data on bird species, marine litter, and human activity were collected, as I was mentioning before. For the later ones, a strip transect method was applied with 200 meters and 500 meters strips. The release report includes estimates of abundance and density of the 3 marine mammal species and distribution maps. And you can see on this slide that although 2 models were used to analyze the data, design-based and model-based analysis in order to estimate the abundance, on the slide in front of you are presented just the results of the model-based analysis with and without the Russian block. We made this differentiation because the Russian survey was being held 1 month later than the CeNoBS one. The abundance of harbor porpoise population was assessed at over 94,000 individuals. For common dolphins, more than 118,000 individuals, and for bottlenose dolphins, over 72,000 individuals. The 2 estimates come from the delay of time that I was mentioning before. Further on, we have prepared a sample of the predictive maps just to give you a taste of the modeling results, for which we are acknowledging Dr. Ana Cañada's work. Black Sea harbor porpoise, as you can see on the image, were the most common species observed during the 6 blocks in the CeNoBS survey, and on the contrary, they were the least observed cetacean species in the Russian block, with only 6 sightings. As can be seen on the slide, is showing a preference for the southwestern Black Sea habitats, at least for summer, the period that the survey was taken. Overall, was the 2nd species in terms of abundance estimates as could be seen previously. Black Sea common dolphins were the 2nd most common species observed in all the blocks, and in terms of abundance estimate was the most abundant species. This probably is true for all the Black Sea, showing a homogeneous presence within the Black Sea offshore waters. And going further to the last species that we have in Black Sea bottlenose dolphin, were the least common species observed during the CeNoBS blocks, and on the contrary, the most abundant for the Russian one. For more information, I encourage you to check the reports within the ACCOBAMS portal or www.cenobs.eu and stay connected for more information on the other items recorded. As I was mentioning before, we have plenty to share with you. Further, I give the floor to Lovna to share with us the perspective of UNEP map on the data that ACID provides. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marianne. So, honorable participant, dear colleague and friend, it's truly an excellent opportunity to share with you my intervention on the insight of the pertinence of the ASI result in regional policy contexts, and in my case for Barcelona Convention. So I'm talking on behalf of UNEP MAP SPARAC. So with the aim to face the cetacean conservation challenge in the Mediterranean, SPARAC has joined the ACCOBAMS effort for the elaboration and the implementation of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative. So during 2018-2019, SPARAC ensured the coordination of the project capacity building component at national and regional level. And in this context, a set of training on technical capacity, software, monitoring protocol through practical and theoretical session has been organized in close consultation with the ACCOBAMS Secretariat, such as the ASI Aerial Observer Training Workshop, the ASI workshop on boat-based survey method, but also about the data processing and analysis in close collaboration with ACCOBAMS Med Project 2. So more than 100 participants from Mediterranean country took part to this training. So as you already say, that such project had generated valuable data, very useful for the elaboration of the quality status report for 2023 for the Mediterranean region. In fact, the first ever quality status report for the Mediterranean produced in 2017 has been delivered by the UNEP map system. And in the context of the implementation of the ecosystem approach roadmap adopted by the contracting party to the Barcelona Convention and its protocol in 2008. So, however, the 2017 Med QSR Quality Status Report decision pointed out several gaps and recommended the general direction in order of successfully delivery of the 2023 Med QSR report. So among this direction, the harmonization and standardization of monitoring and assessment method, the improvement of availability and ensuring a long time series of quality assured data to monitor the trend in the status of the marine environment, and also improvement of availability of synchronized dataset for marine environment state assessment, including use of data stored in other database. And this is the case of the ASI result. So in relation with the ecological objective, one of IMAP and its related common indicator for cetacean, such as the distribution, the abundancy, and the demography, we assume that the ASI result will contribute to the identification of baseline value for the cetacean common indicator useful for the next assessment report for 2023. In addition, lesson learned, challenge faced, and experience issued from ASI will be exchanged between SPARAC and ACCOBAMS Secretariat in order to support the implementation of cetacean monitoring program identified within EU-funded ACCOBAMS Med 3 project in South Mediterranean country. This project will be implemented during 2021-22 in specific pilot area, at least one in lower pressure area and one in a higher pressure area from activity, and will ensure the delivery of quality assured data to the regional database, which also useful for the next assessment report Med QSR for 2023. So I would like to underline that since the last 20 years, ACCOBAMS and UNEP map SPARAC have been working together to achieve and maintain a favorable conservation status for cetacean. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I give the floor to Irina from the Secretariat of the Black Sea Commission, who share with us her intervention through a video. And thank you again.
Distinguished participants of this important event, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great honor for me to be invited to speak and to deliver a statement on behalf of the Professor Khalid Ibrahim Sur, the Executive Director of the Black Sea Commission's Permanent Secretariat. As you may know, the Black Sea Commission Secretariat is acting as an ACCOBAMS sub-regional coordinating unit for the Black Sea. So I'm pleased to express our deepest regards and best wishes for the success of this event and the project in general. Since 2001, the ACCOBAMS is assisting the Black Sea Commission to fulfill its tasks to preserve the precious environment of the Black Sea by contributing to conservation of the Black Sea cetaceans. As you may know, the cetaceans conservation is on the agenda of the Black Sea Commission since its establishment, as cetaceans in the Black Sea are subject to several threats as a result of the interaction with human activities and practices, such as pollution, navigation, fisheries, underwater noise, tourism, and the climate change. The bycatch of cetaceans represents one of the most acute threats in many parts of the world, and all three cetacean species encountered in the Black Sea, the harbor porpoise, the bottlenose dolphin, and the common dolphin, are known incidentally caught in fishing gear throughout the waters of all Black Sea riparian countries. Needless to say that research efforts and monitoring are still insufficient to establish and implement the effective conservation measures. Having said that, we highly appreciate the efforts of the ACCOBAMS Permanent Secretariat in the implementing of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiatives, an unprecedented large-scale activity coordinated by ACCOBAMS and involving the Black Sea countries aimed to estimate the cetaceans population's abundance and the distribution of cetaceans in the Black Sea. We are happy that due to the fundraising efforts of the ACCOBAMS Secretariat, the CeNoBS project, which was supported by the European Union and allowed the implementation of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative in the Black Sea, we now have this success. CeNoBS already led to the successful implementation of the largest regional aerial survey ever conducted in the Black Sea, which was conducted in Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, Georgia, and Turkey in June 2019. This effort was complemented later in the summer by an Aryan cetacean survey in Russian Federation, thanks to the involvement of several Russian partnering organizations and the support and collaboration of the ACCOBAMS and the EU UNDP M++ project. I wish to particularly thank our colleagues from various organizations in the area who contributed to the success of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative and the implementation of the CeNoBS project in the Black Sea. This unprecedented regional successful collaboration was highlighted during the 7th meeting of parties of ACCOBAMS. Now the results of the ongoing data analysis will be released and they can be used by the Black Sea Commission and its partners to initiate the definition of the threshold values for cetaceans, to start work on indicators and criteria on abundance and the distribution in particular. The CeNoBS was also supporting the pilot monitoring activities in Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Ukraine in the view of completing the gaps on the distribution, intensity, and the effects of the bycatch pressure on cetaceans. Overall, let me emphasize that our organizations are sharing the same objective of improving the availability and quality of data on the biological status of the Black Sea and improve the country's ability to perform the marine environmental monitoring in line with expected MSFD, as well as the Black Sea Strategic Action Plan needs. Concluding my address, let me congratulate you with results. Let me reconfirm our commitment to work with ACCOBAMS on strengthening the effectiveness of our action. And let me wish success to this project and to our future endeavors aimed at maintaining the conservation of cetaceans in the Black Sea region. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much to all speakers. And I would like to propose to use these 5 minutes to address some questions that have been written on the Q&A section. So I will read the first one. The first one, in the context of the MSFD implementation in the Black Sea, how the data and results could be accessible for member states. And I invite perhaps Marianne by you to answer this one?
Yes, thank you, Susanna. The data and results will be widely available since it's an European Union project, and not only the data should be shared with the others, not only with the European member states, but also to the other countries or interested scientists or stakeholders. There are two ways of accessing the results. One was mentioned during my presentation throughout the reports or deliverables available on the CeNoBS project website and ACCOBAMS website. And the datasets, the raw datasets, will be available throughout EMODNet portal. Some of the participants probably know it. If not, this is a database promoted by the European Union. And the further use of the data were very well presented by Irina Makarenko during her intervention. So I won't focus more on what can we do with these data. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marian. The second question, let me check the time. We do have, I guess so. The second question is, why have you chosen to have both airplane and ship surveys? Oliver, would you be able to answer this one? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Susanna. The aerial surveys are a very efficient way of surveying a large area quickly. However, there were certain areas where the planes couldn't fly, particularly off North Africa, for example. So we had to use another technique, and vessel surveys are another tried and tested survey technique that can use line transect methodology as well. And I see that there is a question about surveying in Libyan waters from Jamila. And actually in the final report, we do present the results from the vessel surveys in Libyan waters. And using vessels as a platform also allows us to collect other types of data, such as acoustic data. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the deep diving animals are quite hard to see, but they're relatively easy to hear. So acoustic techniques can be used from vessels. And there's also the possibility to collect other types of data, such as photo identification images to identify individual whales and dolphins, which is in fact what we are doing. And these have been contributed to ongoing photo ID catalogues throughout the region.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Oliver. The third question I've got here is there a plan for a second ASI survey? I might be able to answer this one. Actually, we are planning on having a plan. So the question of the sustainability of regional monitoring effort is a crucial one. In order to monitor trends and actually to assess the effectiveness of any conservation measures that we might think of in the future, we need to reflect on how these monitoring efforts may be replicated. And of course, this would imply also ensuring that available and appropriate resources are mobilized on a regular basis. This reflection, of course, runs in parallel with the ASI project, but it will be for the ACCOBAMS countries to decide if a long-term monitoring program is to be established and also to provide guidance on its implementation and funding. I guess I would perhaps launch a fourth question we've received. How will those results be used in the near future? Simone, are you able to answer this one?
Yes, sure, Susanna. Thank you very much. The question is very pertinent, and there are a couple of questions related to this in the Q&A as well. We will be using these results in several ways. The first one, more scientific, regards a special issue on a journal, which is Frontiers in Marine Science, which we are launching in the next few days. We are going to send a call for papers out and facilitate participation of all the scientists having requested or having accessed the data set arising from the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative to present a paper. And we are envisaging paper on conservation, paper on distribution, and paper on methodological aspects of the ACCOBAMS Survey Initiative effort. The other way that we can use the information and the results is of course for conservation purposes, which is what we are struggling to achieve within ACCOBAMS. And one way has already been applied and used the data to assess or reassess cetacean species in the Med and in the Black Sea according to the red list criteria of the IUCN. The other ways will be to strengthen the list and the network of marine mammal protected areas, cetaceans, critical habitats, important marine mammal areas, IMAS, and SPAMIS within the Mediterranean. And these results will easily facilitate this process. Thank you very much, Susanne.
Thank to you, Simone. Because of the time, I will just share with you a fifth question, which is on how could those scientific results be considered by economic marine activity stakeholders, for example, regarding marine traffic, fishery sector, oil and gas exploitation. Well, I might take this one on board. These results will certainly be considered. This is actually the expected follow-up of this survey initiative. The objective is exactly to use the ASIC results as to reflect on possible concrete measures regarding the uses of the sea. So yes, and the first step will be this regional workshop that we are organizing end of June, beginning of July, so to ensure a proper science policy interface. The aim is to involve stakeholders, scientists to the extent possible, but also experts and decision makers. So the aim also is that these recommendations will be then brought up to the next meeting of the parties, which is planned for next year, so that countries will decide on how to move forward. And of course, they will also be brought up to other relevant stakeholders. So given the time, it is now, unfortunately, because for the sake of the available time we have today. Thank you very much for your active participation. I can see that we had around 200 participants. And I would like also to thank all panelists, speakers, the authors of the ASI Survey Initiative reports for sharing their knowledge and also their experiences during this huge initiative and this huge campaign. And also to thank the interpreter. We hope this event corresponded to your expectations. Of course, we couldn't answer all questions in the Q&A section given the time, but the Secretariat remains available to respond to any queries you might want to address us. Our coordinates are available on the site as well. So finally, let me wish you well and enjoy a very happy Earth Day. And I hope you stay tuned on ACCOBAMS activities and our future developments. Thank you so very much. Goodbye.